Oh, I, the pure consciousness or the sense of self awareness, would manifest the words of truth and wisdom. I, the pure consciousness or the sense of self awareness, would manifest the words of truth and would manifest the words of wisdom. Blessings to be on my listener, whether it's a herself or it's a himself. Um, I want to bring some clarity as far as something which is happening on the regular basis. It's usually a reaction towards a situation. It's usually a reaction towards our bondages. It's usually a, a reaction towards our attachments. When we are so fascinated by the three-dimensional reality, which is rather a narrow band, you see, I have mentioned that before. We have two type of bands. The one is a narrow band where we are basically we the one we have two type of realities. The one basically is a narrow band, and the other reality is a broad band, if you understand what I'm saying to you. When we are too fascinated by the narrow band reality, when we are too fascinated by three-dimensional reality, when we are too fascinated by the reality of objects and form, and then we basically say, this is it, you see, this is it. And we then invest our focus. We then invest our attachments. We get to attach to this narrow band. We get to attach to this three-dimensional reality. And then when the object we have invested our attention, the object we have invested our focus, the object from which we basically have uh, form a bond or a band or a bond. Um, when we have form a band or a bond towards an object, towards someone, towards another being, because we are too fascinated by the three-dimensional reality, we believe that this is it. We get really, really, um, we get really attached and tightly bonded with this. And when the object or the entity or the being is taken away, we feel sad. This is the purpose, and this is the topic of this retreat, or the message I'm trying to deliver. You see, we have two options here whether we want to we have two options here whether we want to perceive life in the narrow band, or we want to perceive life in the broadband. The broadband, perceiving life in the broadband means that now we are perceiving life beyond the barriers of three-dimensional reality. If we cannot see beyond the barriers of three-dimensional reality, it's not the limitation of life, it's the limitation of perception. if you understand what I'm saying. For instance, if I put a small stone here, more like a pebble, I hope you're following what I'm saying to you. For instance, if I put a small stone here, more like a pebble, the pebble I cannot capture to its entirety in one moment or any given moment. You see, until unless I move the pebble or the stone or the object. Are you following what I'm saying to you? It's not the limitation of the dimensions of the object is the limitation of my perception. Is that a correct statement or it is not a correct statement? I'm trying to make a point here, so please focus what I'm saying and follow me. It's not the limitation of the object or the pebble, is the limitation in my perception. If somehow I if somehow I raise my perception, if somehow I crank my perception, I am sure I would be capable of capturing the stone in its own entirety in any given moment or in one moment without having to move it. I'm sure. You see, there are people, there are rishis, there are yogis who do these type of things all the time because their perception has broken the barriers of narrow band and three-dimensional reality. You see, the narrow band and three-dimensional reality. So their perception has broken the barriers. Now, what happens is that can only be achieved when you are not fascinated with the three-dimensional reality. That can only be achieved when you are not fascinated with the reality of form, shapes, and names. You see, you can ask how it is concerned with the sadness. Sadness happens when the object we have invested our faith and time in, or being we have invested our faith and time in, is taken away. You understand? Anything which has an objectivity, with the clarification and bringing clarity in the perception, you can learn how not to be sad. The reason this subject is very important because most people get really fascinated and banded with the objects and beings around them. And when the objects or beings with the course of nature are taken away, sadness they think is a reaction to that, you see, and they think sadness is natural. But I will tell you this sadness, basically being sad, it may come across very strange to you, but if you hear my words, you would realize to what I'm saying. Being sad is optional, just like every other thing. Being sad or not being sad is your choice. What I am saying, in other words, that you can make a choice of not being sad, if you understand what I'm saying. You choose to be sad because you see other humans are functioning in the same way. You learn to be sad towards different situations, towards the loss of a loved one. Sometimes people are having really hard time as far as not letting go. People are having really hard time of, if they, sadly and unfortunately, if they have accumulated or they have lost a loved one. I'm not here to judge their feelings. I'm not here to judge their emotions. I'm not here to judge their sentiments. That's not my job, and it defeats the purpose. I'm just here to show you there is another way. You need to look what you are doing. We need to look what we are doing. You see, when we look. When we lose a loved one, do you think that in my life, while I'm saying these words and bringing clarity in your perception, do you think in my life I have not lost somebody I loved? Do you think that people did not cut me off from their lives? It happens to all of us one way or another. But I never talk about it because life is not about the remorse and the sadness of losing somebody. Life is all about to be in the present moment, in the given circumstances, even the loss. And life is all about what could I make the best out of the situation. People carry guilt, people carry remorse, people carry sadness, unfortunately, when they lose a loved one. Losing a loved one is the course of the nature. We lose the people around us. Sometime we would be gone. In someone's eyes, we are the one who he, she has lost. It happens to everybody. There is nothing superstitious or fictional is happening. It is um, it is the course. It is the course of the nature. That's how it is. Um, everything in everyone, every being which has an objectivity attached to it would come to an end by its very definition. It goes to the objects, it goes to the beings. Once we accept that reality deeply, once we accept that reality profoundly, we realize there is no need to be sad because we all are coming from the same place and we all are headed back to the same place. And I think it's a very good news, you see. Number two, when we grieve or we become sad on the loss of a loved one, that person, that energy, that Atman is very much there. Are you seeing? Are you seeing a clear picture now? When we lose someone, when we lose a loved one, when we lose somebody we love or somebody who was close to us and somebody who was the part of our life, yes, there we feel like there is a gap. But remember something, the person, the essence of the person, the soul, the Atman, whatever the self, whatever you want to call it, is very much alive. Because in the course of the nature and the reality of cosmos, there is no such thing as death. There are two nodes on the infinite field of life, which are birth, not number one is birth, not number two is bodily demise. You see, so there is no need to be sad because the person, the essence, the Atman is very much there. However, the person is not in your surroundings the way you used to know the person. You see why I'm saying? The person is very much there. You see, it's very much somewhere. The essence or the Atman is not gone. You see, the person even can perceive your reaction towards their absence. Are you understanding? The person even can perceive your reaction towards their absence. That's why I always tell the people who love me when that happens to me, you see, do not be sad because of my absence. Just remember I am still around, just not in the way that you used to know me, or you have a remembrance or a memory of me. So say that say that wherever you are, you see, say that wherever you are, we are glad that you are maybe in a better place and you have more freedom. Say, we are happy for you because wherever you are. You see, that's what I tell them. I tell them to respond to it in a way that it does not make my Atman feel that they are in grief or they are sad for my absence. Because my essence and my Atman are very much there. So I tell them to be happy just to know that I have more liberty and I have more freedom now. That's one way to react to the loss of a loved one. Your loved one is very much there. The essence, the Atman of your loved one is very much there, just not in the way you know them. You see, if we become sad about the absence of a loved one, it may have a sad impact on those essence or the Atman of that person. Plus, if we remain sad on such a loss or the loss, plus, if we remain sad on such a loss or the loss of a loved one or the loss of a pet that we were really closed and we were really attached with, or the loss of a or the loss of an object that we invested our time and we became emotionally attached and banded with the object. If we lose the object, if we lose the person or the pet, and we remain sad over a period of time, the physical impact over a period of time, let's say more than 60 to 90 days, I can bet you we would develop some type of disease. That is only the impact on your physical appearance. That is only the impact on your physical formation, what you understand as body. Now imagine what kind of impact it would have on your spiritual growth. Sadness over a long period of time or sadness at all is detrimental in your spiritual growth. Please remember that. Are you following what I'm saying to you? Sadness over a long period of time or sadness at all is detrimental to your spiritual growth. Spirit Atman or the self is something which even carries on after shedding or losing the body. I hope you are following me. Spirit, the essence, the Atman, is something which carries on even after losing the body. Sadness at all or sadness for a long period of time is detrimental to that Atman or the spiritual growth because anything you feel for a long period of time becomes the part of your essence. Please understand that only yesterday we talked about that once we are angry or we have some type of, God forbid me, negative traits and feelings and we live, God forbid me, if we lived, I'm saying hypothetically, with those traits and feeling, that would become the part of our essence and it would imprint on karma. So if we are spiteful, if we are resentful, if we have any of these negative traits, once we lose the body, we lose the luxury of mind. The discriminatory aspect or the reasoning mind is gone now. So, whatever the part of our essence is, I want you to please listen to me. um, Whatever the part of our essence is. Essence, basically, what happens, how the essence comes into being, how the essence is formed. Anything when we feel over a long period of time, anything we allow us to feel. I'm saying it now in different words. Anything we allow us to feel over a long period of time, it becomes the part of our essence, if you understand what I'm saying to you. And it imprints on our essence, it imprints on like karma, you see. When we shed the body, when we lose the body, we would progress by our essence. We would progress by how, what kind of essence we have accumulated during one lifetime, and what kind of essence became the part of our Atman. Sadness is one of the detrimental things, and it can only be imprinted on our karma if we make a choice and we let the sadness in our life. You see, when we realize fully and we really realize completely that this world or the experience of the world is being generated so we can shed the karma, not accumulate more. This experience of the world is being generated so we can shed the negative traits and we can find happiness without any outer source, the happiness within. So we can empty our vacuum. This time is very significant. This time is very crucial. This time is very important. We need to make every choice really carefully. And we realize that if we let the sadness in our lives, how it is going to impact on something which even progresses our even after we shed the body. You see, when we realize that anything which has an objectivity attached to it has to come to an end. It goes to the people we love, it goes to our pets, and it goes to the objects we have formed the bands with. You see, the bands we have formed the bands with. So it goes to everything. When we realize later or sooner, it has to come to an end. So we realize that we can nurture while the object or the being is around. We can nurture the life. We can flourish the life. We can enjoy the life. We can enjoy the time. But we need to remember, you see, I tell you always, remember the word remember. We need to remember that it belongs to cosmos and cosmos solely. You see, once we look at life, once our perspective about life changes, everything changes around us. Please remember that. I would give you an example. You see, it really happened, by the way. I would give you an example. There was a there was a man from Europe, a very wise man, basically. He was known to be wise, but he wanted to explode. He want not explode rather, but he wanted to attain. He wanted to achieve the ultimate truth. You see what I'm saying to you? He wanted to achieve. He wanted to know the ultimate truth. In his quest to know the ultimate truth, he knew the wisdom from ancient India can lead you to those paths. I hope you're following me. He knew that the wisdom from ancient India basically can lead him towards the ultimate truth, towards the ultimate liberation. So the man from Europe, who known to be wise, traveled to India. Are you following what I'm saying to you? The man from Europe, who is known to be wise, traveled to India. and he basically did some research, he did some homework. So he arrived at um, a yogi's place, and the yogi was known to be wise, and the yogi was known to have the ultimate liberation and the wisdom, what we understand, and in easy words, um, the salvation, the moksha, the in easy words would be the enlightenment. But Yogi was very quiet. He was a silent man, and for the most part, he kept himself to himself. But if somebody would come to him to seek for his advice or to seek for his wisdom, Yogi would communicate with them and would give them the advice, because also he was serving the humanity in the same time, which is very significant. So the man from the man from Europe, the European guy, he entered into Yogi's house, and he was very baffled. He was surprised, and he was baffled to see that there is just a mat. Now, this is rather a rubber mat, but he saw there is just a mat and a pillow in the yogi's house. So he, in a state of baffling, he looked at the yogi and he said, "Where is all the furniture, Swami?" And the yogi answered basically, "I am." The yogi said, the European guy asked the yogi, "Where is all the furniture, Swami?" And in the response of his question, yogi asked him, "Where is yours?" And the European man answered to yogi, "But I am only a visitor." And Yogi looked at that European man, and Yogi said, "So am I." You see, the moral of the story, the bottom line, the people, these type of wise people, these type of yogis, and these type of sannyasis, they encompass a lot of wisdom and a lot of energy. They see life as it is happening. Hence, they do not form any bands or any bonds towards an object or towards a being. They nurture if it is in their surrounding, they flourish it, of course, but they do not form the attachments. Once the attachment is formed and the time comes when the time comes for the nature to take it away, then the shock comes and the person become extremely sad. And I have told you what sadness does, what our what are the long-term repercussions of being sad. I just mentioned that to you, so please ponder on it. Number two is basically we make unrealistic hopes to the people we love, you see, because there is no clarity in our perception. We make, unfortunately and sadly, unrealistic hopes with the people we love or the people who are close to us. It could be a friend, it could be a family member, it could be a sibling, it could be anybody in the society. We can we can basically form hopes, you see. And then what happens is, if we look into it, if we look into it, we realize that these hopes and these expectations from these people, our hopes and expectations sometimes may be very unrealistic. You see, we even think that they can read our minds without we having to communicate with them because they know us so well. Truth of the matter is, none of us knows each other in its full entirety. So it's rather foolish to raise our hopes and expectations specifically when they most of them are unrealistic, because obviously others naturally do not fall for the most part on those expectations and hope, and then we become resentful, and then we become sad again. You see, we say, how could you not know? You should have known. You see, this is how we respond, and we become sad. Others are doing what they are doing, but our unrealistic hopes and expectations from others, and naturally, when they do not meet those expectations, we become sad. You see, I am telling you, being sad is a choice. You can make a choice of not being sad. You see what I'm saying? You can make a choice of not being sad. You see, when you make a choice of not being sad and you practice not being sad, then more pleasant, more happiness all the time becomes also the part of your essence, you see, which is a good thing. Sometimes we get too attached to the activity we are performing. This is another scenario. You see, sometimes, unfortunately, we get too attached to the reward. I'm saying we nine majority of our activities are based on some type of reward. You see, majority of our activities are based on some type of reward in return. And when we do not get the reward we expected, or when we did not get the or when we did not get the appreciation we expected. We expected it quietly, you see, silent. We expected it silently. Inside us, we didn't reveal it to anybody, but we expected some kind of reward. We expected some kind of uh, thanks. We expected some kind of gratitude. Most of our activities, if we pay attention, if we pay focus, most of our activities are based in the greed of some type of reward, or some type of gratitude. A small example to make you understand can be, if we hold the door for some person, if we hold the door for some being, and the person for some reason does not pay us thanks, we become sad and we become spiteful. We say, this person does not have any manners. We do not look at the bigger picture. We do not want to see the possibilities that are existing in the same time. We didn't bother to look, maybe person was preoccupied by something. We didn't bother to look, maybe the person sadly and unfortunately is a mute person. The person who cannot speak, we didn't bother to look, the person was hurting physically and didn't pay enough attention to pay us gratitude. We didn't bother to look on a number of scenarios that may just be the possibility why the person didn't thank us. I'm just giving you a small example to make you understand that how fragile our happiness, and how it's easy for us to be sad. We didn't bother to look on the different scenarios. We just became a little spiteful, resentful, and judgmental, and we became sad. You see, things like that can trigger sadness in us. There is no need to be sad. Just do without the expectation. You understand what I'm saying to you, the humankind? There is no need to be sad. Just do without the expectation of any reward on gratitude in return, and then experience your own energy. You would have the energy in you that you never imagined existed. Believe me, you would have tons of energy. because now you are going in accord with the nature, not against it. And when you do anything, when you go in accord with the nature but not against it, you realize that you have tons of energy. You see what I'm saying to you? So, number third is we become too attached to the reward or gratitude, but we must not. We just do the action and not to attach with the reward. Reward would come, of course, but you are not attached to it. Gratitude would come, but you are not attached to it. Attaching means that if it doesn't happen, then you are going to be sad. Attaching means Attaching means if it does not happen now, you are going to be sad. Attaching means if it is happening less than what you expected, now you are going to be sad. You know what I mean? This is all attaching means, basically. So do not attach yourself with the reward or expectation or gratitude, something in return. As Lord Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, I want you to hear these words. As Lord Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, that actions, please follow what I'm saying. Lord Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, actions do not cling to me because I'm not attached to the reward. You understand? You see the wisdom in this statement. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna said, actions do not cling to me because I'm not attached to the rewards. When you do anything in that kind of mind frame, having that kind of mind frame with you, you wouldn't accumulate no karma. You would just perform the actions, but you would not attach to the result of it. You would not attach to the outcome of it. And when you do anything with that kind of mind frame, you are the most successful person that there can be. Are you following me? When you perform any action with that kind of mind frame, you are the most successful person that there can be. So ponder, ponder on what I said to you in this retreat. Ponder on what I told you, what is sadness, how sadness is detrimental in our spiritual growth, what causes sadness, and how sadness can be eliminated from our spiritual experience. You see, sadness, no good. Sadness, no good for our spiritual growth. Sadness can unfortunately become the part of the essence if we practice sadness for a long period of time. You see, and being sad is a choice. You can be happy, so choose to be happy. Look at the things more profoundly, look at the things more clearly, you see, and then you wouldn't have no sadness in you, which is a great thing. If you have any questions, comments, on confusions on this particular topic or on this message that I just delivered you, please feel free to write me. Okay, please do that. And always don't forget to make some time for yourself and yourself solely. Because remember, if you are happy, you can keep others happy. Only if you are happy, you can keep others happy. Only if you are feeling love for yourself, you can give it around. So make time for yourself. That would lead you to happiness and love.